Grief is tough, especially when it strikes you unexpectedly. It was 2 p.m. Central Time on January 26th, and I was scrolling through Twitter when I saw it. I saw it pop up live on my feed within seconds of its posting. It was from TMZ, and I scoffed at such a headline. Within minutes, my feed was flooded with people wondering if it could possibly be true. Within minutes, every news outlet in the country was on it as reports became confirmed. Yeah, it happened. I recall staying up to midnight on a school night to watch him score 60 in his final game, because I knew I was watching history. The night before, I'd been with friends watching the Lakers game, yelling, "LeBron's gonna pass him as all-time scoring leader." Then when he did, we saw what would be his last tweet congratulating LeBron. Continuing to move the game forward at King James, much respect, my brother, hashtag 33644, 10:39 p.m., 25th of January, 2020. Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash the following day, January 26th. It was dinner time when my parents dropped the news on me out of left field. It came as all I could do was drop my fork and exclaim, "What?" Every year, my dad's family would put on an early Thanksgiving, and my dad's cousin was always one of the relatives I most looked forward to seeing. He would always make his world-famous mashed potatoes, and they were the damn best mashed potatoes out there. Reason alone to go. I would always go back up for seconds and thirds of his potatoes. Last year, the kitchen was full, and so we all got to watch him run his crock pot back and forth between the neighbor's house and ours to do his magic over in their kitchen. It was a spectacle to be seen. His brothers were lawyers and judges. He had moved around, having been self-employed to working for the government to ultimately working food service at Airmark. In contrast, he was the everyman. Jokes he told played in my head like a timeless Jerry Seinfeld bit on Daily Observations. I recall last year someone asked him what he thought of having just gotten a smartphone. And he quipped, "Well, it's a great part of the time, but half the time I just want to throw it across the room." I was immediately looking forward to seeing him and his mashed potatoes again. Dan Sperry died from massive stroke and same-day brain surgery on March 13th, 2020. It was around noon on Wednesday, April 22nd, when my dad walked into the house abruptly and quickly gathered my mom and me to share the news. I was incapable of processing it for several minutes. My best friend, my confidant, my honorary grandpa, my great uncle. No. I don't remember it as Wednesday or April 22nd. I remember it as the day. The day I'd been planning on calling him, hoping to hear his voice for the first time in nearly a month. That day, the same day my great aunt had assured me was likely just 9 days ago. 9 days ago when she told me my weekly telephone buddy for the last 7 years was going to get discharged from the hospital, his second stay in 2 months. Sent to rehab and ultimately return home. Yeah, he'd been just diagnosed with cancer, but she was confident he could still get some decent years out of life. She followed it with words that still ring in my ear. "I know he's looking forward to getting back to talking with you." John Lane died from pneumonia and COVID-19, the latter contracted in rehab, on April 22nd. 2020. By the way, just a few months ago, Uncle John floated the idea out of trying to make it down to the early Thanksgiving for the first time, even though he'd previously said his traveling days were over. Dan the two John Lanes, that'd been something. We don't know the hour, day, month, or even year sometimes. Two more come to mind. On November 24th, I went for my weekly 4 p.m. Monday guitar lesson like I had for the last year. I told the owner I was here, and he told me right then and there, I'm going to be teaching you a guitar lesson today. Just that previous week, my guitar teacher had asked me to think of some songs I wanted to learn and to bring them in. My guitar teacher had come in this morning seeming fine, but in the late morning he started seeming ill, so the owner drove him home. He ended up at the hospital. Well, Mark Wheeler died from an undisclosed cause at 1:41 p.m. on Monday, November 24th, 2014. There's actually two more now. I never met two of my cousins. They both died tragically in the mid to late 90s. Desiree was around 10 or 11 years old when she was hit by a car crossing the street to her house. She died in the hospital that day. Rachel was 24 years old when she was murdered in her bathroom by her abusive ex-boyfriend, who then committed suicide. I wear a wristband that says Andrew Coffey 110317, be the change. I never knew Andrew or his story until March 2019 when I was on a Greek life service trip down in Florida, and we visited Florida State University and learned about their Greek life and the tragic story of Andrew Coffey, a 20-year-old engineering college student pledging to join a fraternity who died from acute alcohol poisoning. I'm 21 and in a fraternity. This hits close to home on so many levels. For me, it's not simply about ending hazing like the inside of the wristband says. It's about the fragility of life. 20. So ever since that early March 2019 day, I've worn one of the wristbands they handed out to us to remember Andrew Coffey. To remember that life can be over for any of us at any given day. Grief. I know we're all feeling it right now during COVID-19 especially. We all have our stories, I know we do. The stories of no goodbyes, life ripped away. These are a few of mine. These are the ones that have impacted me, whether I had the privilege of knowing the person or not. And as you can tell, these stories happen regardless of age. 8 or 89, 24 or 64. It doesn't matter. We all see tragedies like Andrew's in the news and in our daily lives like the ones I'm talking about. And we all offer our condolences, mourn, and then go, we all gotta move on. Soldier through. Because as Frank Sinatra says, that's life. That's what all the people say. Yeah, life goes on, but don't sweep this under the rug. If you're trying to move on from a loved one's passing, we're talking years for that to happen, if that. So don't move on from grief. Move forward with it. Channel that pain, those people lost, their vibrant personalities, their goals, dreams. Be affected. Use it as motivation. Wake up. If someone mugs your friend in a dark alley, next time you're near that alley, you're going to approach that differently. Yeah? We yell for legislative reform amidst mass shootings we hear about on the news in states 15 hours away, minutes after it happens. Where's the personal reform? When tragedy truly does strike close to home. Because the real tragedy we ignore during these tragedies is the imminence of death. Yes, but even deeper than that, an existential crisis, if you will. Tomorrow's plans or goals might not matter. They didn't for Kobe. Kobe Bryant was heading to a basketball game with his daughter. Kobe never watched basketball again. The future may not matter, man. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And you, frankly, have the audacity to say, no, not today. Every person who dies unexpectedly dies with goals and plans. And you, frankly, have the audacity to say, no, not today, tomorrow. I'm not feeling it today. People didn't die today, so you can squander today and let another day slip through the cracks. Days when we know you won't want to do it then too. I'll tell you this, a lot of them died saying the same thing. Why are you worrying about the future, man? Worrying about those future calendar dates when you could be living for today. Tomorrow. We only got today. Quit procrastinating. Admit it. Breathing tomorrow is a miracle, a blessing. Uncle John never got back home. Dan never made his mashed potatoes again. Mark never played guitar again. Desiree never graduated. Rachel never got a chance to start a family. And Andrew never graduated college. Next week's plans might not matter. I will tell you this, every single person who watches this is going to die, as morbid as it sounds. When? We don't truly know. Death is inevitable, a certainty, but you have a choice today. Are you going to die with unlived goals, unlived dreams? Dreams and goals that you could have worked on months or years ago. You could be at Heaven's Gate tomorrow, for all we know. You ready? Got your affairs in order? Oh, you're waiting for tomorrow? Nah. I hear he's not taking extensions this time. I'm not ready. I haven't released a podcast since September. Since January alone, I've thought about recording this podcast. Since Kobe's premature death, I've thought about putting a message like this together. How many people need to die before I share this message? I'm being real. Because I've been a hypocrite. That stops today for me. So, what's it for you? Is it that workout plan you've been pushing until tomorrow? That loved one you're going to call tomorrow? Name it. What is it for you? Tomorrow. A day that so many of us wish could happen for people we love so much. I loved my Uncle John to death. And what's the best thing I can do to honor his memory? Well, live for today, do the podcast, work out, call the person, close the deal, start the business, forgive the person. Make something of yourself while you can. Isn't that what your loved ones would want you to do? And for those of you who still say you have a crystal ball that proves you're not going to die tomorrow, or those of you who say, I just have a feeling, bro, I implore you to at least not be so naive to believe that tomorrow everything will be the same. People are dying every day. And I, for one, can't stand on the graves of the people who've died before me and say, no, not today, tomorrow. I can't do it. But again, for those of you who think things will be the same tomorrow, you're wrong. You're so very wrong. Because I'll tell you this. Changes in health happen to some of us more often than others. I've been there. You might not have that job tomorrow. Any of this is possible. This isn't Groundhog's Day. Today won't be repeated. There will be opportunities and circumstances that you'll never see again after today. Take action. I'll finish with this. One of my favorite shows is 24. In 24, they have 24 hours to stop an attack. They get a lot done in 24 hours. Just seeing what they do by noon makes me feel ashamed with how I'm wasting my days, letting my days slip through the cracks. I know we're not stopping terrorist attacks, but I mean, if they can stop terrorist attacks in 24 hours in real time, what can we do in the 16 or 18 hours we're awake every day? It's time for me to shut up. It's time for us to live for today, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. It wasn't for John. It wasn't for Kobe. It wasn't for Mark. It wasn't for Dan. It wasn't for all of these people we see in the news. It wasn't for George Floyd. So with that, here's the famous ticking clock from 24. Remember, the clock is ticking not only on your day, but on your life.